This is the one where the troupe develops Stockholm Syndrome.
And Susan develops telepathic abilities.
And Barbara goes on holiday for like 5 episodes.
And there are ood-like creatures who hold them captive.
Or do they?
It's called the Sensorites.
Here we go.
We're embarking on a voyage all through time and all through space.
Encountering Dalek, Starla, Nude, and the Cybertronic race.
Sontarans look like taters, and Silurians all have wonky scales.
And the Doctor has a TARDIS, we're reviewing all his tales. Who back when? Reviewing all of who there is. Who back when?
Subscribe and rate on iTunes, please.
Episode by episode, we're trudging down this temporal road. Come join us on this odyssey. What other choice could there be than Who back when?
Who back when?
Shamalama Ding Dong, welcome to episode 7 of Who Back When, a Doctor Who podcast. I am Ponkin.
It's hammer time.
And that is Flappy. Today we are reviewing the 7th Doctor Who story, The Sensorites. And we've got a Who Back When first. We are recording this episode in front of a live studio audience.
Yeah, well, we were tinkering with nicknames. We were going to go with the Virgin. But he didn't like it all that much.
Well,
You didn't like it all that much.
I'm a virgin now. I've seen my first Doctor Who episode.
Yeah. What is your name?
Just call me Frank.
Frank it is.
My
Okay,
name.
Frank it is. And Frank may be joining in at some point. We'll see.
I may not.
Yeah. This this audio may be cut or maybe not. Who knows?
We'll keep it in.
Depends on whether he
It
wants.
depends how entertaining I find you two. I may just be content with just listening.
Great.
Find it on.
And the pressure's on. Anyway, today we are reviewing The Sensorites. It's a 6-episode arc, and it is finally a return to science fiction.
Yeah, it is. In what I think was a rather disappointing fashion. But we'll get on to that.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah. By the way, I don't know if you've been monitoring the Facebook and Twitter feedback, but every time that we say something that we say all the time, such as, but we'll get to that, some of our fans, e.g. Gina, previous contributor to the show, cringes. She's actually she's actually in the car listening to us right now, cringing.
All right, well, I'm sorry, Gina.
Yeah.
I can't help who I am.
Well, can I just say thank you very much for allowing me to be in your presence. And your enthusiasm and your love of Doctor Who is certainly amazing and contagious. And it's wonderful to see.
And do you know what? I'm pleased to hear that. And that was my original aim for the show, to build new fans, and I think we have one.
Yeah. I'm actually quite privileged myself to have been in your presence when you've popped your Doctor Who cherry. That's amazing.
Thank you.
Right, shall we...
Get back to the episode.
Let's do it. Episode 1, Strangers in Space.
Yes, very, very strange.
Very strange indeed.
Opening to this.
Yeah, by the way, about the opening.
Oh my
First time that we see the title of an episode before we see the Doctor Who intro.
Yeah, it's actually shot slightly differently, and I think I noticed a discernible change in theme tune.
Really?
Is that because it's 1964 now?
Might be, I don't know.
And when it came back? I don't know. It just
It did seem very
it's a-
LSD, very sort of...
Well, no, the title sequence is always like that. It's always been that way. But there seemed to be a little bit extra bass to the
Well, yeah,
theme tune.
it seemed very much like Cream, very sort of...
Wow. Okay, I didn't pick up on that at all. Very cool.
It could have just been the quality of the television.
That could be true.
Anyway, so the episode... Anyway, the episode starts off with a repeat of how the Aztecs ended. However, even though this happens literally probably about a minute after they've escaped from the Aztecs, they've already had a wardrobe change.
Yeah, they have a wardrobe change, and they're on to the next problem immediately.
Yeah.
Which is that the TARDIS has stopped. It's very Edge of Destruction-y. The
Very.
TARDIS has stopped. They've got no idea why or what's happening. They seem to be stuck inside something.
Yeah.
And they're not really sure what's going on.
And the theory, once again, is brought to light that possibly they've landed inside something, because part of the dashboard is saying that they're moving, and another part is saying that they're standing still. So,
Yeah. It's funny how their mind doesn't immediately say, well, actually, should we check the fast return switch again? Because it really stuffed us up last time. We spent like an hour trying to work that one out, and now all of a sudden, it's happened again.
yeah. Anyway, they check the scanner, there's nothing but static, the instruments say that they've stopped, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Susan wants to go outside.
Yeah.
What?
Uh-huh.
And Ian starts
Spirit
providing
adventure.
theories as well.
Yeah.
Being a complete dick. Like, all of a sudden he's an authority on TARDIS stuff. And we're going to see even more of that later on.
Yeah, I think Ian has earned his place, to be perfectly honest. But we'll get on to that.
Yeah.
We'll come back to that later.
The biggest thing about the intro isn't so much that, it's that they talk about how they've changed.
Well, they talk about how they've changed and how they feel as well. We
Yeah.
get a little insight into each character. And as we said in our little intro, they seem to have developed Stockholm Syndrome.
Oh, very much so.
As in, Ian and Barbara are both saying, oh, do you know what? Like, we've had our times, we've had our trials.
And now we're all friends.
But do you know what?
chummies,
Isn't it
nice.
wonderful we get to travel space? Like, neglecting to mention that they've been kidnapped. Also,
How long is it that they've actually been with the Doctor?
well, they've been with him 6 episodes.
In time.
That's a good question, actually.
Yeah, we don't really know.
I have no idea.
How long a time did they spend with the Aztecs?
Well, in that little sequence where they're discussing it, they actually talk about all the things they've done, and the Doctor just throws in there, oh, do you remember when we saw Henry VIII?
Yeah.
Suggesting that other stuff has happened.
Before they even met Bob and Ian.
Or in between.
I was gutted. I thought I missed a good episode, but
Yeah, the Henry VIII one. Like, I really want to see that.
Yeah.
But what the Doctor actually said that really got my goat, actually.
It all started out.
It all started as a
Yeah.
quiet curiosity in a junkyard. I mean,
Wait,
it
what?
might be that I only watched this a month ago. That's not how it started.
That's really not how it
It was
started.
not a quiet curiosity. It was actually quite a loud, rupturous event
Yeah.
where, Barb and Ian tried to take the Doctor away to the police, and he kidnapped them because he was scared of something happening to
maybe
him.
he sensed their Stockholm Syndrome and he's playing with it. To accept it.
Well, and as we'll see later in this episode, sorry to use that phrase, but as we will see, he does continue in the vein of manipulating people, telling little lies that actually get people to...
Well, to be
think
fair,
in a slightly
that's
different way.
something that he has been doing for 6 episodes already.
Probably for 900 years.
Probably, yeah. But
Do we ever get told how old the Doctor is actually at this point?
not
Because
yet.
in later episodes, I mean, somebody out there will know the exact answer, but he's in his early 900s in the rebooted era.
Right.
So does that mean that now, 50 years earlier, he's actually in
850.
Yeah, he's like 872. Like, have they tallied it up? That's what I'd like to know. If anybody has an answer.
Yeah. Well, okay, so to use the word again. Anyway, it all started out as a mild curiosity in the junkyard. He's now talking about how they've got this spirit of adventure, which is going to come into play later on. And they decide to exit the TARDIS.
But it does actually lead quite well into then, let's go outside into danger.
Yeah,
again.
exactly, because now they're adventurous. They exit the TARDIS, they're now on a spaceship. Let's move on.
Well, yes, okay, let's move on. And so they enter this empty spaceship, and they find a guy sitting in the chair who appears to be dead.
Yeah.
They all check his vital
Oh,
signs.
first, the Doctor orders Susan to lock the TARDIS. So now Susan is carrying the key.
Yeah.
She locks the
She's got it
TARDIS.
around her neck.
Yeah.
She has opened the TARDIS before, like she has been left in charge.
Oh,
of the
yeah, no,
TARDIS.
you're right. You're right.
Yeah.
Okay, so she locks the TARDIS. They find these 2 people in, I guess the cockpit.
Yeah.
And check the vitals.
Yeah, in the bridge.
The
In
bridge.
of
Oh,
the
well
ship.
done.
But they both appear to be dead. Ian thinks they've been suffocated, and the Doctor, showing a rare glimpse of human emotion, says, a tragedy. That's all he's got to say on the matter.
He also says, Ian goes were they killed by suffocation? And the Doctor goes, I never make uninformed guesses, my friend.
Yeah.
What? Literally every
All
single
he does.
guess he makes is uninformed.
But they do actually have proof. These people have actually been dead. This is something that isn't expanded upon, actually. So they know that the guy's been dead for about 24 hours.
At least
The
24 hours.
The Doctor, because he's got a watch on that's like...
Both of them are wearing watches.
Yeah,
Yes.
and they're one of those time in motion watches. So
Exactly.
they only work when somebody's moving around. So they can tell that these people have been dead for over a day.
Yeah, because just by looking at the watch from the exterior, he can tell that will wind itself up to work for exactly 24 hours.
And we do get an explanation that it's, it's something the Sensorites have done, and we're told that quite quickly, I believe, in this episode.
No, dude.
no.
You're skipping ahead. We don't even know anything about Sensorites yet. I think basically the Doctor is such an expert on springs, as we learned in The Edge of Destruction, that just by looking at these watches, he knows that they've been out of commission for 24 hours.
Right.
And he says, assuming that they literally just stopped working,
Okay.
they must have died.
What I'm
24
asking,
hours.
Then
were
they
these people...
accept that they're both dead.
Yeah.
And they say, let's get back on the TARDIS.
Bingo.
But
Frank is on the ball.
Are these people not in fact dead? Because when the guy wakes up and starts talking about the girl, he says, "Oh no, it's fine. We just need to get the heart resuscitated."
That's right.
Yeah. So it implies that her heart has actually stopped.
Okay, wait, but hang on. Spoiler alert. They're not dead. They think that they're dead. They decide to go back because the Doctor goes, goes, you know what, there's nothing I can do here, let's just go
But
back.
then it's like, wait a minute, this one seems to be alive.
Yeah, the guy suddenly wakes up out of absolutely nowhere, starts asking for the heart resuscitator. Ian goes like, do you mean this? Do you mean this? Do you mean this? Finally brings the object.
What was that guy planning to do if Ian wasn't there to help?
How did he wake up?
Well, immediately you assume they're in some sort of stasis. Or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I thought they're from
That's what I assume.
and we find out they're from the 28th century.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you'd assume maybe they've got some sort of technology that can put them into a dead-like state, and then wake them up. I.e., the heart resuscitator, which sounds like quite a heavy duty.
Which is so weird. Like, if it hadn't been for, we're totally skipping ahead, but so they're in this semi-dead state just because of the Sensorites.
Yeah.
We don't know this yet. But still they have a heart resuscitator on the bridge?
Whatever.
Why would they have it there? Anyway, it doesn't matter. So, catchphrases. Okay, so the guy wakes up, is resuscitated. It turns out he's English. He gets Barbara to resuscitate the woman.
What? I don't know. Like, if people have been watching it out there, people might have an opinion. That guy doesn't sound English to me. Like, he was like American, as you said, maybe even Russian, Baltic.
Scottish. It seems to take him a while to get his accent level.
He dipped in and out of accents, like,
He
over and again.
Check that. Maybe he's an American actor and he's putting on an English accent. He was struggling with it. For the
Yeah,
first
he
episode.
did. Like, the accent wasn't consistent. Whatever he was. Well, and he also said he wasn't from London.
Yeah, exactly. He says,
in fact, London hadn't existed for 400 years.
Immediately, a few things that were really perking my fascination, then being from, what was it, the 28th century,
Yeah.
London hasn't existed 400 years. I'm like, wow, this could be interesting.
That's got an interesting
Let's ask some
backstory, right?
yeah, no dice, dude. We're not going to find out anything about
We
that.
are not talking about that.
Weirder still, I think, is that he just got when Ian asked him, like, oh yeah, well, we're from London. Is Big Ben still on time?
Yeah.
He shows absolutely no surprise whatsoever that these guys have been traveling through time. It's like, oh really? You're from 400 years ago? Oh, that's fine.
Yes, they're from the 21st century, doesn't he?
Yeah.
It's a great guess, guy.
Yeah. Well done.
Like, this guy, man, I mean, who knows? Maybe he's got a PhD in history, and so
And to be fair, he was only 50 years off.
Yeah.
So pretty good.
No.
He is
That's
from
the
28th
joke.
century.
It's a ridiculously good guess. If I met somebody who appeared to be from olden times, and they look like...
Yeah, but he says
maybe
21st century.
Saxons or something, I could say, oh, are you from, like, the 8th century?
But he says
And be
21st
500
century,
years
dude,
old.
and they're from the 20th century.
Yes, I know that.
I'm just saying, man. God.
I know that. What I'm saying is it's an absurdly good guess.
Yes. Okay. So, please let's move on with this because we've got 6 fucking episodes to get through. Okay,
Right.
so there are 2 people on the bridge. There's Maitland and there's Carol Richmond. For simplicity's sake, I'm referring to them as Jeeves and Moneypenny. Also, gotta say, I love the fact that their uniforms have tiny little spaceships on them. That's pretty cool,
Yes.
because in the future you have to say this.
Absolutely.
Like, yeah.
And obviously, so when he starts talking to Maitland, or
Yeah.
Jeeves, they want to know what's happened, why, like, everything seems so bad.
Yeah.
And the guy says, you don't want to know.
Or I don't want to tell you.
No,
Yeah.
he says, you don't want to know, and the doctor agrees. Like, gone is this guy's
Yeah, but-
sense of adventure.
No,
sense of-
yeah, that's true. But he also jokes about it. He's like, "Oh, I'm never curious about anything," and then he immediately asks Maitland something.
But the first thing he says is, oh, actually, like, and it comes back to that whole idea of, like, screw you guys, we've got our own problems.
Yeah.
Of, like, I don't want to know about your problems because it's just going to lead us into more trouble.
Yeah, and then when Maitland finally does tell them about the Sensorites, he's all up for leaving.
Yeah. Like, he doesn't want to help.
No. Essentially, so what Jeeves tells them is they are orbiting something called the Sense Sphere,
Yep.
and are being kept there, like held prisoner, essentially, by the so-called Sensorites.
Yeah, who are patrolling the ship. Patrolling the area
Yeah.
of the ship.
The ship's unable to leave this
Yeah,
facility.
they're unable to leave. They're unable to move. Actually,
Yeah.
they're not allowed to go anywhere.
And not only do the Sensorites have some sort of power over the spaceship, they have some sort of power over their minds as well.
But it's very obvious, well, it's made obvious, the Sensorites don't want to kill them. In fact, the Sensorites even at times bring them food.
Yeah, they've put them into this dead-like sleep.
Yeah.
And occasionally they sort of wake up from this sleep
Hold
and notice that they're being fed.
Something's just occurred to me. So the Sensorites are the ones that put them into this dead-like sleep.
Yeah.
Yet, they brought their own heart resuscitator with them.
I made this point like 5 minutes
Oh
ago!
my
God!
He
Oh!
does get very animated, doesn't he? Yeah.
Stop pandering to the audience. Alright, so...
It's so entertaining.
Okay, so meanwhile, we see a close-up shot of the TARDIS door, and this gloved hand, spoiler alert, Sensorites, approaches the lock, can't quite open it, brings out this...
I don't think he even tries to open it.
Well, no, I think
Frank
so.
and I were discussing it while we were watching this. I don't think he even tries. It's literally, he's got a No Country for Old Men, old style, lock taker off.
Yes.
Like, he grabs the lock and, like, puts it into, like, the bank. That's it.
Just pulls the lock out.
Yeah, with this thing that looks like an electric fly swatter.
Which is a very clever thing to do.
Yeah, totally.
It means they can't get in. Ian suggests bashing the door down. The Doctor objects not on the grounds that you cannot bash the TARDIS doors down like it's impossible, which is what we know about the TARDIS. You can't break in. What he actually says is, timey-wimey, wibbly-wobbly stuff. If we try and break the door down, like, the world's going to explode.
Yeah, basically.
Which doesn't marry.
Yeah, and they
future episode.
Yeah. Do they not also offer to Maitland and Carol, Jeeves and Moneypenny, that they can leave with them? And they're like, no, we can't leave because there's a third one. There's John.
The Doctor never, ever suggests that. The Doctor would never allow... Susan suggests it.
Exactly.
And it just gets washed over because everything Susan says...
Yeah, and then they smell something burning, they go to the TARDIS, then they notice that the lock's gone.
And nobody takes any notice of what Susan says anyway.
Exactly. Yeah. So then we've got an instance
John,
of...
don't they?
Yeah, then they mention John.
Yeah.
You don't want to know about John.
No.
No, you don't want to know. No, Lord, do we not want to know? Yeah.
So then we've got an instance of shaky cam, like J.J. Abrams is running the show, and the Sensorites apparently are arriving. It's like everything is shaking. And this is the second time that Ian fucks me off, because all of a sudden he and the Doctor are basically piloting the spaceship. Like, they're suddenly crashing towards the Sensphere, and Ian is on one console, like, piloting something, and the Doctor is on another, because Jeeves and Moneypenny can't do anything.
No, the Doctor forces Jeeves off and says, please go away, let me take care of it.
He actually throws him during the shaky cam. Like, the Doctor actually grabs him and throws him off the controls. Maitland is thrown off his own ship's controls, so the Doctor can take over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, so, okay, that the Doctor can pilot a spaceship, I believe that. I can buy it. But that a science teacher from 1963 can pilot a spaceship from the 28th century, I cannot buy that.
But do you know what? Ian's a special case. He is the man.
I think that's just showing the difference between these future humans that have this influence by the Sensorites that these 21st century humans and the Doctor don't, because Jeeves says, why can I not do that, when...
Yeah. Well, he's basically paralyzed.
There isn't actually a good answer to that.
No, like, the second they start plummeting towards the Sensphere, they are almost, like, paralyzed. He especially is paralyzed with fear. He even says, like, Carol starts to almost fight against whatever it is that's holding her in this, I don't know, weird zombie-like state. But he does nothing to resist. He's powerless to resist. Anyway, they save the spaceship. It's fine. They pilot slightly further away from the Sensphere.
Did they even save it? I mean, just basically, the camera stopped rumbling.
Yeah. Well, no, they piloted away from it. They were almost about to, like, crash into the Sensphere, but they divert to the left.
All that it was showing that the Doctor and Ian have powers to do things that the others don't.
Exactly.
But what I'm saying is later on, we find out that the Sensorites are actually doing this as a trick. I don't think that they were actually crashing.
Okay, that is very possible.
I don't think they were.
In the beginning, it seemed very much like, okay, again, we're going far ahead, but in the beginning, like episode 1, everything is about how, like, they want to manipulate all the humans to feel fear.
Yeah.
I was almost at the time thinking, do they feed off fear or something like that? Yeah. But that then never comes into play later on.
No. Like, the route, not spoiler alert,
yeah.
but the route they go down with the Sensorites is not where I was expecting them to go, from what they were saying in the first episode. And the episode, like, the way they should have gone was better than where they went.
Yeah.
It would have been more interesting had they been, like, mind suckers.
Yeah, that's exactly exactly where I saw it going.
Yeah. But it didn't go that way.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, this episode is going to be, as in Of Who Back When, is going to be a little bit back and forth because there are a lot of contradicting things in this story arc. But okay, so they've allegedly saved the spaceship. Susan and Bob are sitting on the floor eating what looks like bouillon cubes. And we find out that John, this third guy, is a mineralogist.
Yeah.
He's a mineralogist who's, like, just gone. He's disappeared. And Jeeves would rather not talk about it, but anyway, Susan and Bob...
About John. You
Sorry?
don't want to know about John.
No.
Do not. My first note about John is, we see John, and he's all fucked up in the head.
My first note about John is he looks like zombie Rod Stewart.
Yeah, maybe. Rod Stewart, maybe that was what it was.
The way we see zombie Rod Stewart is that Bob and Susan, whom I henceforth refer to as BS, just wander off behind the backs of everyone else, and no one makes a note of this. Like, two of the main characters leave frame, walk away, and no one seems to care.
But that happens quite often.
Yeah.
To be honest. Like,
So-
that's no surprise.
They figure out how to open the doors, they go through, and then we see zombie Rod Stewart closing the door and locking it behind
so
them.
BS are locked inside with
Yeah,
John. Yeah.
exactly.
And he is all over the place. Like, at this point, I had no idea what he was up to or what he was doing.
As you
Yeah,
said,
he just-
he's all fucked up.
Well, he's all fucked up. He seems to lunge at them, like, stuff.
He's a complete zombie in the...
Bad
He's a mess. But he seems like, initially, he's angry towards them, but actually it turns out he's asking for help.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so, then we've got Moneypenny telling Jeeves that the Sensorites used to make their decisions for them,
Yeah.
and
Which
Jeeves...
is not explored.
No, not at all. But then we get one tiny little bit of information that's going to come into play later on, namely that Jeeves says, I know what zombie Rod Stewart means to you. So,
Well, and we're also told that the Sensorites actually attacked John more than they attacked anyone
Exactly,
else.
exactly.
And we don't know why at this point.
yeah, and they say like, oh, he'll be frightened of strangers. He may even become violent.
Yeah, the Sensorites have taken over his mind and he may become violent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So at this point,
Which actually doesn't chime in with anything to do with the Sensorites. Like, they wouldn't do that.
No,
I don't
no.
know why they think
there are two completely different kinds of portrayals of the Sensorites. One in episode 1 and one in the entire rest of this story.
Exactly. They're
Yeah.
actually very meek.
Yeah.
Like-
They're super meek.
And there's one, maybe two bad ones in the whole civilization.
Yeah, that's it. The rest of them are total ood. And we will comment on that. Thank you very much to the listener who made the mention about connection between Sensorites and ood. Thank you very much, Al, for sending in a message. Apparently, according to Al, the ood are actually related to the Sensorites.
Okay, do we get
pretty cool.
a bit of background on that in another episode?
It's very possible.
I mean, I
really
I
hope so.
I mean, that is a great piece of information. I wonder where Al found that out. I'd love to know. Because they do seem like, as we were discussing in the break, they could be connected. One could be evolved from the other. Probably the ood developed from the Sensorites, if there is a connection.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear about it.
Yeah.
I think he even mentioned that Russell T. Davis had said that the ood were based on
Okay.
the Sensorites.
Yeah, I mean, there are lots of very obvious connections in the way they communicate, in the way they look, obviously, and, the way their community is at large.
Yeah.
But I would love to, if there is a backstory on that, I'd love to hear it.
See, I'm wondering, slight tangent, I'm wondering if we may already have heard this mentioned in the rebooted Doctor Who, but not made a note of it
not
because we
picked it
never
up.
heard of the Sensorites.
It's quite possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so...
So they worry John's going to become violent.
Yeah.
Cut to John. He's
Cut to-
actually crying.
Yeah, he is crying. He's fallen into Bob's arms. Says that, like he starts talking to like the ether, saying, like, "No, not them. They're my friends. Like, don't make me hurt my
I don't think
friends."
he's calling them friends.
No, he does. He does. He
No,
says,
later he calls them friends. Not
like,
yet.
he looks
he
at
says
Bob.
they're good, doesn't he?
Yeah,
He's
like-
no, please, they're good. They're
Yeah,
good.
he only calls them friends after they go, Susan, Barbara,
Yeah.
friend. And he's like, friend?
Yeah. No, not them. They're my friends. I think that's what it is.
It's
Doesn't
like
he say,
the
like,
caveman
you look
episode all
like
over.
my sister?
Yes.
He says, you look like my sister.
He does.
And she goes, we're your friends. And then he obviously, like, we hear that signal coming from the Sensorites. He's, like, hearing their evil approach, and he knows that they want him to scare them, which he even says.
That does happen.
Again,
But I
feeding
think
into the
it's-
theory that maybe they feed off fear.
Yeah.
And he then talks into the ether, i.e. to the Sensorites, saying, no, not them, they're my friends.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that does happen, but I'm not sure it's at that point. Whatever. But Maitland and Ian and the Doctor are very worried about what's going on with the girls and John.
Yeah.
So they start trying to cut through the door using 28th century technology, which is a blowtorch.
Yeah.
Handheld blowtorch.
A handheld blowtorch, yeah. Which cuts at like 10 millimeters per minute.
Yeah. To me, it looked a little bit like some sort of dental drill.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was.
And
kind of size
actually,
and strength.
almost at first seemed like, oh, wait, hang on, is this going to be a precursor to the sonic screwdriver?
Yeah.
Like, it could almost have been, but it wasn't.
We might be being really unfair. I mean, it could be a super strong door. Like, if it's like a massively big reinforced
Yeah, it's a
door
super strong
and a
door
handheld
that
thing.
later on we see Susan alone lift up.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, I was gonna-
But it's unlocked at that point.
Oh,
It's
that's true.
common during
now.
the episode. It's a pretty sturdy prop door because they're banging on it.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
You
It
don't see
doesn't
the whole
move,
set
doesn't
shaking
vibrate.
around.
Production
Yeah.
value, man. Production
Yeah.
value.
Doctor Who at this point, I mean, we're in 1964 now. Like, it must be so popular.
Oh
the
my
money
God.
that's going into these episodes is
This
so
show is
far
the
beyond
shit.
The shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they look at the scanner, or possibly the window. We don't know.
Whatever.
Oh, the window. It is
I
the
think
window.
it is a window,
It is
yeah.
the window. Yeah. Okay. Spoiler alert. We're not going to get to that yet. So they look at the window, and we see these Sensorite jelly beans kind of approaching the
Jelly
spaceship.
beans. I had boiled eggs.
Oh, nice.
But, yeah.
Nice and nice.
Like,
They were more like
same-
kidney beans.
Yeah, it could be. Well, why
Why?
They had
The shape of a jelly bean?
Slight indentation.
Do you know what?
Exactly like a
Yeah,
jelly
yeah.
bean. Yes.
I think you.
Oh, well done. No, yeah.
Have your glasses on.
Spot
You get
on,
the prize
Frank.
of best assembly. Yeah.
So Zombie John is going to protect BS, he says, and this high-pitched whine stops,
Yeah.
and then everyone goes quiet, totally quiet. We have a few seconds of complete silence, and then Jeeves goes, shh, and no one's speaking. Is it just me? I thought that was fucking hilarious. Alright, so we got this tense moment of silence, and then, cut to, we've got a Sensorite peeping Tom outside the
Yes.
window looking in.
Wow.
Yeah. And the first time
Shocking.
we see it, it's like
Crawling up.
crawling up
Oh,
the window.
Yes.
And then when we cut back to it at the start of episode 2, it's just kind of hovering.
Yeah.
Like,
Completely
it's-
different.
Yeah,
It's
completely
1964. That
different.
must have been terrifying.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
definitely.
I actually, I had such high hopes for this story arc. This first episode was really good. It developed a lot of interesting ideas.
It
and it
built up.
was menacing
Yeah.
as well. Like that moment of silence you described, I thought was really strong.
I thought so as well. I thought it was completely ruined by the fact that no one was saying anything and Jeeves still wanted to shush them
Well, maybe silence was just so important. He just wanted to alert them to the fact they should be
Yes.
quiet.
by making noise. Yeah. So, anyway, let's speed through this because we're half an hour into the podcast. We are, yeah, okay.
But I should also mention, I did make a note here.
Okay.
Maitland, tells Ian that he's not allowed to hit them. Ian's picks something up and he's like, I want to kill these Sensorites, they sound terrible. And Maitland's completely against the idea of hurting them in any way. Ian's absolutely appalled. He's absolutely appalled that they won't fight. Which we've seen him do
Yes.
before.
Yes,
Appalled.
that is totally
We've seen
true.
him be appalled at the idea
But-
of not fighting before.
Yes, but
In episode 2, darling.
you're ahead of the story because, dude, pretty important plot point.
Yeah.
Okay, so Susan, she starts telling Bob about how they once landed on the planet Trestro, where there were plants with telepathic abilities. And when they stood between two plants, that produced this screeching noise, which is clearly a reference to the Forest of Fear, where Susan even says, oh, I've heard this noise before, I can't quite place it.
Yeah, you're right.
That's the noise.
You're right. And actually,
Bingo.
when that happened in that episode and we recorded a podcast about it, we were like, what the shit? Why is that never followed up? They're following up.
Yeah. In fact,
Does that mean they're going to follow up on everything? Is the Yeti going to come back from Mongolia?
yeah, in Pertwee hours, Pertwee times. So when they're hearing this noise, Susan says this is all based on the whole planet of Trestro thing.
Yeah.
She says we've got a plan. We just need to concentrate really hard and think we will defy you,
Yeah.
and those thoughts will echo across whatever telepathic ether there is
Smart.
and stop them. Very smart. Well done, Susie. And the Sensorites.
Way ahead. You're like 5 minutes into episode 2. You've skipped way.
Okay, yeah, please tell me, because I've made these notes very chronologically, so just...
It's a good point. I do think he has skipped there, because I do remember some shit happening before we get to that.
He skipped well ahead.
Okay, well, just fucking say what it was!
So at the start of episode 2, the 2 crew members, so Maitland and Girl, are frozen, looking at the Sensorite out the window. The Doctor appears frozen for about 20 seconds, but then it turns out it's nothing. Like, the Doctor's absolutely fine. The 2 of them are frozen, and they try and revive Maitland.
Okay.
Remember this?
Go on.
So they try and revive Maitland, and they eventually manage to shake him out of it. He starts talking very monosyllabically, but, eventually they break the Sensorite spell. But that's how we find out that they do actually have the power of mind control. John starts speaking as if someone else is there, like properly this time, having a proper conversation, going, "Stop it, you're hurting my friends," which is where we got to there. And Girl, what's her name? Carol.
Moneypenny.
Yeah, Moneypenny. Says that the Sensorites are actually inside the ship. She alerts them to the fact that Sensorites have actually broken on board, and that they're in danger because they're in complete control of John now. And John is going, "No, they're my friends." This is the first time he calls them friends. And then the Sensorites appear.
You do start getting very endeared to John.
Yeah, you do. He's a lovely
Oh,
chap.
totally, yeah.
He's
He's just this helpless victim in a way. And still, even though he's in this incredibly victimized position, he wants to do the good thing. He wants to protect BS. He wants to be like the gentleman.
Let's protect them.
Yeah.
So the Sensorites appear, and, obviously you can comment how you like on their costume, but you can see their packages.
I love it.
Was the first thing I noticed.
Yeah.
And some of them are quite fat, so you can see all the bulges of their bodies, but, it worked. I think
they look like bearded raisins wearing pajamas.
Yeah.
It is great.
You know what? Like, my comment on the costumes, just quickly, I think the masks are wonderful. I think what they're wearing on their head is brilliant. The bodysuit could have been done better. But never mind.
Okay. Are we at We Will Defy You now?
The next thing that happens is the girls hatch the idea. Do you know what?
Okay.
How can we, because John has been going, "No, they're my friends," kind of thing. They're like, "Oh shit, something's up." So let's hatch a
Boom,
plan.
Trestro, We Will Defy You.
And the Sensorites
get a migraine.
Fucked up. Yeah.
They get a total migraine, and Susan collapses.
Yeah, and almost immediately, the Doctor and Ian manage to get the door open, and everybody's back together.
Yeah.
So at this point, Ian works out that John must have discovered something secret that the Sensorites didn't like him knowing, and that's why they were fucking with him so hard compared to the other 2.
There are 2 tiny things before that.
Rich beyond the dreams of avarice.
That's number 1. Okay, so the Doc tells Moneypenny that it's possible that Susan can break through their thoughts.
Yeah.
So just to put this into the chronology of the Doctor versus Susan's telepathy, he says it is very possible that she can break through their thoughts and that she has telepathic abilities.
Yeah.
Because later on, he's going to say, "Meh, whatever."
You know nothing.
Yeah.
We have some great quotes coming up.
So that's number 1. And number 2 is Maitland says that Zombie Rod Stewart has aged.
Yeah, okay.
That his hair has gone completely white. And as part of this conversation, Ian starts quoting Zombie Rod Stewart, saying that he's saying something about the dreams of avarice, and he remembers this expression, "rich beyond the dreams of avarice," which, because he's a mineralogist, clearly must mean that he found some sort of rich mineral deposit or whatever on the planet.
I think that's fine.
I think it's a bit of a stretch, I think, but okay.
Maybe a tiny stretch, but
Yeah.
I'll live with that one.
Okay.
So it emerges, so the Sensorites start speaking. Very luckily they speak English, and they but they communicate in 2 ways. And I think I saw you make a note here.
What's that?
Well, they communicate so well telepathically. Why the shit do they talk at all?
Yeah, that's exactly what I put here. Like, I think it's weird that they talk at all since they're telepathic, and it's weird that they have a word for smile. Why do they have a word for smile?
Yeah, when they don't actually have the facial ability to do so.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so weird. Anyway, it's like a product of Sensorite science fiction. You've got stories about people with expressions.
I have seen this smile. Yeah.
Yeah, so the Sensorites, they put, we see a little cutscene of the Sensorites somewhere else on the spaceship, and they put, this stethoscope on, one of them puts a stethoscope on his forehead, and starts talking to, the elders. Mm-hmm. And he says that the elders say the new ones have less fear. They are to observe them, and if they try to use force, they are to summon their warriors to destroy them.
Yeah, and be particularly wary of the We Defy You girls.
Exactly, and in the meantime, on the bridge, Ian and the rest, they're looking at this spectrograph.
Yeah.
And he takes a brief moment to try to explain to Susan what a spectrograph is, and she just goes, "Yeah, I know what that is."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, she is a rocket scientist.
Exactly.
Yeah. But the Doctor takes a look at the spectrograph and actually discerns exactly what it is John has found.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. The Doctor, who, by the way, in this scene, is wearing a monocle, says that...
For the one and only time.
Yeah, that he's found molybdenum.
Yeah, which apparently is a material stronger than iron. And this is actually, while we were watching it, we came up with the point, and it was followed to the nth degree, that this is just Avatar from this point on.
Yeah.
Yeah, Avatar's not a good film.
Actually,
it's just Avatar.
Actually, I'm gonna revise that.
The unobtainium.
Yeah, molybdenum. I'm guessing that doesn't exist in real life. We had a little conversation about that. Like, does it exist?
We never bothered looking it up.
Yeah, who cares? Someone will Wikipedia it at some point. But that's the Avatar connection. However, I think, really, this story is Treasure Island.
Mm-hmm.
Because we even get to see Ben Gunn later on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Spoiler alert. Alright.
Okay, yeah, we'll get onto that.
Exactly. So, then Ian and... Is it Ian and Bob? They walk like deeper into the spaceship, and they are confronted by the two Sensorites.
Yeah. At the point the Doctor says that it is this mineral, and that's what John knows about, and they all start talking about it, at that point, there's a brain attack on the two, on Jeeves and Worcester. Yeah. Jeeves and Moneypenny.
By the way, when writing these notes, I struggled so hard not to write Jeeves and Worcester every time I wrote Jeeves and Moneypenny.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Jeeves and Moneypenny have a massive brain attack at the mere mention of molybdenum, whatever it is, which proves to us, the audience, and hopefully to them, that that is actually what it is. The Doctor's got it perfectly right.
Yeah.
And that's why they're so afraid, and they start attacking for that very reason.
Yeah. But we've got this scene. I'm not entirely sure what the order is, molybdenum or this scene, but we have a scene of Ian and possibly Bob. I think Bob.
That is the next scene.
They walk deeper into the spaceship, all of a sudden are confronted by these two not Ood, who just follow them, like just approach them very slowly, and we get approximately 3 minutes worth. Yeah, it felt like 3 hours. 3 minutes of slowly backing away footage.
With the doors.
Yeah, Ian's holding them off. And they're not bothering to lock the door. Although, to be fair, they don't know how to lock the door.
They don't know how to lock the door.
Turns out it's just a bolt.
Yeah. He just backs away. He's holding like a spanner or something. And every time he raises it, they back away.
Yeah.
But then they start approaching again, and soon enough, we're like all on the bridge.
Why doesn't Ian hit them?
Well, he is told, that's a good point, but he is told by Barbara and others not to hit them. Because actually, they're not very aggressive, they're not doing anything aggressive, and we were told earlier by Jeeves that, it's a bad idea to start fighting with them.
It would ruin their nice costume.
Ian's very much up for a fight.
Yeah.
And he's already talked earlier in the episode about, well, why don't you just use violence?
Yeah.
It's clearly the easiest thing to do.
Okay. Ian is now on the bridge. The Sensorites, they arrive at the door to the bridge.
Yeah.
One of them wants to use his, electric fly swatter to open it, and the other one goes, no. So they wait outside, and then all of a sudden they start to communicate telepathically with Susan.
Yeah.
And the Doc is not at all, surprised to find that his granddaughter has turned into, a telepathic puppet. And she just lets them in.
Chip off the old block.
Yeah. So,
she is told that they're not allowed to leave. The Sensorites have told her that they're all not allowed to leave because of this incident that supposedly occurred about 5 years ago with the humans trying to take the molybdenum. Yeah.
Yeah, and they caused some sort of affliction, we're told.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They think. And they want to bring the whole troop down to the Sensphere, but say that they definitely don't want to harm them. They just want to talk, bring them down, but they're not allowed to leave.
Yeah.
And they seem very meek.
Fantastic line turns up around this point, which is Bob goes, surely we have proved that we don't need any help. And one of the peeping Toms goes, you have only proved that you can lock doors.
Yeah. That was pretty funny.
So then the California Raisins, they leave, and the Doc observed that their eyes are like the opposite of cat's eyes.
They're completely dilated.
Exactly. Yeah. And that presumably they will be scared by the Doc. They're scared of the Doc.
At least they won't be able to see well in the dark.
Yeah, exactly. So now they have sort of a backup plan. If all else fails, they can just turn off the lights and scare them.
Yeah. But at that point, the Sensorites then message Susan again via brain alert, and tell her that she has to come down to the planet alone.
Yeah.
Or otherwise they're going to kill everyone.
Yeah.
They make the decision that they are going to use the threat of violence
And she
after having said we don't
totally
want to
just
hurt you.
offers herself up to them, like, on a silver platter.
She is
coming up from the doctor.
Yeah, we're coming to it.
Yeah.
She's the suggestible type. Boom. Episode 3.
Hidden danger.
Yeah, so Ian and Barbara follow anyway, despite what the Sensorites have said about killing them.
Yeah.
And say they just want to talk. And they're like, people who say they just want to talk, they want to kill us.
Yeah, by the way, just a quick note that they've backed off the bridge with Susan. The door has closed. Approximately 1 minute has gone by. When they open the doors, they're still standing right by the doors on the other side with Susan.
Okay, we've already seen they're quite slow moving. But then the doctor approaches and delivers a fantastic line to Susan. They have a little argument, a little contretemps, and the doctor says, I don't believe you have the ability to represent us. And, goes a little bit into how we can have no faith in Susan. Because
she's a girl.
Well, she's just not good enough as a human being to represent them.
I think maybe he goes a little bit overboard because he's protective of his granddaughter as well.
Yeah, and he admonishes her and says, I know you think you were doing your best, but I know better in these matters. Like, basically, you can't do anything unless you run that shit past me first. The doctor is proven right, though, about his light theory, because he turns off the lights.
Yeah, one of the peeping Toms wants to, he even says, we must stun them with our hand rays. And raises one of these, egg cutter fly swatter things to the doctor's face.
Yeah.
Literally to his face. Turns off the lights, boom, kablamo, they're scared shitless, they drop their egg cutters, problem solved. Actually, hang on, sorry. I made a point here as well, I made a note. They're scared of the dark, but they would happily float through space. which is a
very dark vacuum.
Pretty dark place. Yeah. Anyway.
I don't know, shit lights, maybe. I don't know. Are they afraid of the dark, or are they only reacting that way because they're around enemies and they can't see anything?
They sense his mind is strong.
Yeah, his mind is strong. Yeah,
the mind is strong with this one.
The doctor, yeah, pretty much. The doctor is cutting them off.
Yeah.
They're able to see directly through Susan, like she's a piece of grease paper. Yeah. But the doctor, he's got barriers up.
Yeah. Also, other weird line delivered at this point is Ian postulates that Susan has been hypnotized in some way, but Bob counters and says that no, she's just grown.
Yeah. Well.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Well, because it's part of the normal maturity of a girl to develop telepathic abilities.
Well, a young lady.
Well, to be fair, she is making a remark about adolescence. Yeah. Susan is fronting up to the doctor for the first time, and the doctor 16? 16. And in the next segment, the doctor actually says this is the first time him and Susan have ever had an argument.
Yeah.
This is the one and only time, and I think that kind of is her growing up a little. Everybody goes through a rebellious stage when they're in their teens. Maybe in the 60s it happened a little later, seeing as they had no arguments up to here. But yeah, she wants to strike out on her own, and his basic position is, and I quote, "You will not make any decisions of your own accord." So you can see that there is a tension.
Slight tension.
Yeah.
Okay, so fast forward to the next proper plot point, which is that Zombie Rod Stewart and the rest are going down to the Sensphere while Barb is going on holiday. And
but the Sensorites say, after all this, he's turned the lights out, really fucked him up. Okay, we'll let you speak to our leader. And they offer to cure John as well.
Yeah, exactly.
That's their carrot for bringing them down to the sphere.
Yeah, and I think this is where they also elaborate on the whole, the last time they met humans. They say 10 years ago, 5 men arrived. There was a quarrel between the humans that led to them probably killing basically themselves. Trying to kill each other, but ending up killing themselves by blowing up their ship somewhere in the atmosphere, and the germs from that somehow polluted the Sensphere.
Yeah.
And so there's been some sort of disease on the Sensphere as a direct consequence of human intervention, which is why they now distrust humans.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, they were trying to wreck the planet of the
unobtainium.
Yeah, exactly.
But at this point, the Doctor, as you pointed out, Frank, gets
great line.
He gets a massive boner.
Oh my god, best line ever.
They stroke his ego like it has never been stroked before.
Yeah.
One of them says to him, and the smile on his face, I sense great knowledge in you. And the Doctor just jizzes her, ha! I thought so.
He holds back until the end of the
beams
episode.
for a whole minute.
It's at the end of the episode.
Yeah.
For a whole steadfast minute.
I think he's probably also quite pleased that Bob is out of the picture for a while.
Yeah.
So one thing that effed me off a little bit was they're told the Sensorites will prepare some sort of vessel for them to travel through space down to the Sensphere. We don't get to see any of that. Just cut to the Sensphere.
Wow, that would be expensive.
Yeah, that would be expensive production, come on.
They built a fucking spaceship,
Yeah, one's
dude.
enough.
There's only so much in the budget, dude.
Okay, fine, fair enough. So cut to the Sensphere, the
also,
ruler...
Can I just add in one unbelievably condescending remark the Doctor made? It was so
Okay.
good. I recorded it in full. So Susan agrees to what the Doctor's saying. And the Doctor says to her, "Come, Susan, we can't do it without you." And then winks to the others and sniggers. Like, as if, of course we can fucking do it without her. Like, she is completely useless to anybody's cause.
Well, anyway, it's nice of him to give Susan that little nugget, isn't it?
He gives her
bolstering
that.
her
Yeah, he gives her that nugget, but at the same time, like,
Last
tells
snippet
every
behind her back.
yeah, and openly to the rest of the group is like she is a complete waste of space.
Totally. Okay,
He's
dudes,
wrong.
cut to the Sensphere. We now are introduced to the three top honchos of the Sensorite community. They are the First Elder, who's like the really nice guy. He's very fair.
He's wonderful. What did you call him? What was your...
The benevolent leader.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
He is like Plato's divine.
Yeah, the
Like,
philosopher
he's-
king.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah.
Then there's the second in command, who is very loyal to his leader, but still has thoughts of his own and opinions of his own, but he is still like, he's loyal to the chain of command, basically.
Yes.
And then there's the third in command, who's the city administrator.
Admin guy.
Admin guy, who challenges the First Elder's beliefs the second the First Elder has left the
and
frame.
from the absolute get-go, just seems really bad news.
Mega dodgy guy.
Like, how has this not been noticed? Like, if you think that guy's, what, like 40? Like, that Sensorite is 40 years old. And all the time he's been living on that planet, no one's noticed. He's the dodgiest bastard.
The typical military general from the Hollywood film.
Yeah.
Just go nuke them. Just send the nukes out, send the B-52s.
Like, as I said, I don't see him as that character. I think he's a jumped-up little Hitler. He's like one of those, like, little admin guys who's just like, oh, I've got all the power of the bureaucracy. And it's just like...
I've been fixing copying machines for 30 years, and now they want to bump me off payroll. Fuck them. I'm going to burn the building down.
all they gave me was this lousy gold watch. Like,
Yeah, he's totally Dennis Hopper.
He is
That's exactly
he
who
is
he is.
Dennis Hopper
He
in
is
Speed,
Dennis
Frank.
Hopper in Speed.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, please. Cigarette me, Frank. Thank you.
You're welcome.
But we hear some more interesting stuff that isn't expanded upon.
The caste system.
They have a caste system.
Yeah.
Ian really doesn't like that.
Yeah.
Like, it offends his English sensibilities
Yeah.
quite a lot.
Well, they have
I mean,
a
I guess we were, like, Britain was just coming out of India at the time. We just took over the
exactly.
empire.
I was going to make that one.
And, yeah, I think that's a commentary on
Well,
Indian society
yeah.
of
There's the right
1964.
drawing a parallel there.
Absolutely.
Anyway, we have a caste system that's comprised of wise elders, warriors, and engineers.
Yeah.
And for the next
And
roughly
anybody-
hour and a half, we're going to be treated to all three.
Yeah, and if you're not an elder, you get fed poison.
Is the engineer then the butler? Is he an engineer?
Which...
The guy who comes and serves the drinks, the incredibly scrawny, skinny guy who clearly hasn't eaten in months.
I think he is an engineer. Doesn't even have like the emblem.
I don't know,
on
he
his-
just serves them drinks, doesn't he?
Or maybe they have a fourth caste that's like
Yeah.
servants, sub-engineer class.
Sensorite, yeah.
Anyway, so we get a little bit of action. The admin dude, he's talking to one engineer and says that they're prepping this disintegrator ray.
Yeah.
And he's basically telling this engineer to, he's feeding him coordinates of this reception room where the humans are going to turn up.
Yeah.
There's some good devious music.
Yeah, very devious music, and they're like, we need to beam the disintegrator ray straight at their hearts. Where is the heart located? Is it on the left or on the right or in the middle, as with us Sensorites? And again,
Good memory.
again, a little note to Edge of Destruction, where you haven't seen this one, Frank,
No.
but in Edge, here's a little.
Done. Yeah.
Yeah, don't watch it, but listen to the podcast.
The Doctor has...
two hearts.
Yes.
Yeah.
He has two hearts, but in Edge of Destruction, I made a point of this. You don't think it's very significant, but like Ian goes like, I can't hear. No, I can hear his heartbeat. I think he says, but he should be hearing two heartbeats.
Yeah.
And even in this episode, there's like a little hint that they hadn't really come up with the idea that Gallifreyan people have two hearts.
As I noted at the time, Ian's not very observant. Like, he mistook stone for metal.
That is true.
He's,
Guy's a science teacher, right?
Yeah, but like clearly not a very good one.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
Doctor's done him a favour then, hasn't he?
yeah, like he's really teaching him up.
Yeah.
But I don't think Ian. Like I think Ian could have easily missed that.
Okay, yeah, fair enough.
Like
Fine. But so
and
they're
also,
prepping
there's
this machine.
no reason the Sensorites wouldn't think that the Doctor was human. He
looks human. They must assume that.
I've got no reason to think that
So
he
they
would have
go.
two
They choose
parts.
the middle.
They choose the middle,
Yeah.
just like Sensorites.
Yeah.
And but the second in command turns up and tells the administrator to turn off the disintegrator.
Elder number 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
The second
Yeah.
elder, yeah.
Numero dos. And the admin refuses, but the engineer dismantles the machine. He takes out the key, something. What was it?
Firing key.
The firing key, and hands it to the numero dos. And in the meantime, we get to see a little bit of the troop talking with the first in command in the reception room.
Well, it's at this point of the cutback that the episode starts to fall apart a little for me.
Yeah.
Logic starts to disintegrate. So the Sensorites have come to cure John. And John,
By the way, Zombie Rod Stewart has turned into a fucking human lie detector.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, for some
So
reason,
weird.
I can't remember who says it. Is it Carol, who says he can tell right from wrong perfectly.
Yeah.
Like, he can just meet a person and instantly go good or
Evil.
bad.
Yeah.
And he will know. So he meets the leader and he's like, good.
Yeah, so
And not like the other. Like, what? Like, how? Okay, I can understand that he's tapped in somehow
Yeah, well,
to the
that's what it
telepathic ability. Yeah, but how does he know? And the other Sensorites don't know that admin guy is bad.
Yeah.
The leader doesn't know admin guy is bad. Why would John know?
it makes incredibly little sense, but I think it's just this very primitive plot device to tell the
It's
viewers,
incredibly primitive.
okay, this is a guy you can trust. From now on, let's just take for granted that numero uno is a good guy.
Yeah, and
Basta.
we'll just take for granted everything John says is absolutely true. He sees behind every plot device, he sees the future.
Yeah.
He sees, he knows what people have done and what they're about to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The first elder also explains why Zombie Rod Stewart was attacked the most.
Yeah.
He says when they scanned everyone's mind, in his mind there was the thought of
A
holy
mining
shit.
transportation business.
Yeah, holy shit, there's molybdenum
Yeah.
molybdenum on this planet. Well, I'm going to go back to Earth, I'm going to get some mining ships, come back, and then make a killing.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so they decided to screw with his brain the most.
Well,
basically.
fair enough.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
That kind of added up at this point.
Totally fair enough.
Yeah.
So they sit down to have a drink. He's brought in somewhere else, whatever. But the Doctor, Ian, Susan, and Jeeves, I think.
Yeah.
They sit down to have a meal
Yeah.
with numero uno.
And first of all, they want a drink. Ian's very thirsty.
Very thirsty. They're all brought water. Numero uno gets the very nice crystal water.
Yeah.
And-
And then gets upset with the servant and says, why are you treating my guests this
That's
way?
right.
Yeah.
You must bring them crystal water.
Yeah, exactly.
We are seeing that number uno is a very nice,
He's
very
a
wise
super
guy.
nice
Very,
guy,
very
yeah.
wise.
But this servant guy has sort of assumed that because they're humans, he needs to give them the regular water, which it turns out is super contaminated.
Yeah.
But the way that we find out about this, it is so ridiculous.
He's thirsty.
Ian is super thirsty. He doesn't want to wait for the crystal water
he
to
says, "I hope
arrive.
you don't mind, I'm going to drink the crappy water.
Yeah, so he drinks the crappy water and starts coughing almost immediately.
Yeah.
While they're talking about the contamination in the air and the water or whatever, he's coughing. No one notices anything.
No.
We as the viewers clearly understand that he has had...
It's very obvious.
music as well.
I think you're right about
Well,
that.
they make it very obvious to us. Let's give them the benefit of the doubt. To us, it's very obvious. He's just drunk this water and it's killing him.
Yeah, and it takes the Doctor about 2 minutes to figure
it
out that
actually
something's
takes
happening.
us to the next episode.
Yeah,
So
Ian collapses.
episode ends with number 1 saying to them, I think your friend's dying.
Yeah.
Dun, dun, dun.
Cut to episode 3.
4.
3,
Yeah.
4.
Is it? Oh, I might have.
I have no fucking idea.
I
It's
think-
called A Race Against
Yeah,
Death.
a
anyway.
race against that. I thought it was number 4. It is number 4.
Yeah, we find out that the disease is not contagious.
Yeah, and it takes the Doctor a whole minute to realise that there's the water.
Yeah, you're right. That's what it is.
And then he asks for some sodium chloride, salt.
Yeah. He also theorizes that it was poison.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he doesn't get it.
No, he doesn't get it, but he brings that up as, I guess, an allusion to a future plot point.
Yeah. But the Doctor is really happy because the leader says, it takes people 3 days to die of this.
Yeah. He's like, oh, that's fine. We've got plenty of time to save this guy.
Like, it'll be fine.
Yeah.
So
he Casino Royale's Ian by giving him salt water.
Yeah. Although Ian doesn't actually throw up, I don't think.
No, I don't think so
Ian
either.
is in a bad way.
Yeah. Super bad way. And then cut to...
Admin guy.
Is it?
Well, I've got next.
Oh,
thing
yeah,
that
yeah.
happens is we cut to admin guy, and he's advising the leader not to trust the doctor. Do not, under any circumstances, let him back into his ship. The leader assents to this.
I think that's later on. First, we cut to admin guy and second in command standing in front of
scheming.
scheming right in front of Zombie Rod Stewart, who's receiving this digital perm, and
right, yeah.
which is like clearing his mind, and they're just like conspiring right in front of him, and he's just like googly-eyed looking at them, going like, "Oh my god,
right.
I fucking knew it."
He says evil. Or
Evil,
something.
yeah, yeah.
And then they say, yes, the Doctor is evil, don't they? Or something like that.
Yeah.
All right, I'll get to the point.
Yeah, go for it.
Do you know what? Actually, I'm not going to make this point right. I'll do it in a bit because it is chronologically out of time. There's something that doesn't add up.
Okay.
Anyway, so the next thing that happens is admin guy advises the leader not to trust the doctor. Don't let him back in his ship. And he's also saying he's upset that they're trying to cure John. These people are against us. Like, we shouldn't be curing this guy. Thinks the whole water supply thing the doctor's proposing is a ruse. That's what he says. That's what he says to the leader. Like, there's nothing wrong with our water supply. And actually, it does turn out it's the humans who are making the problem with the water supply.
Spoiler
So as far as this guy knows, as far as admin guy knows, there is nothing wrong with the water.
Yeah, he's
not actually scheming. He's got every reason to think there's nothing wrong with the water. They're very proud of
Very
their
true.
aqueduct.
Very true.
He's not actually being a bad guy. He's sort of being sensible. In a way, he's doing his job. He's being suspicious when no one else is.
Yeah.
But anyway, we get two things to... we find out two things. Number one... Fuck.
Douchebag.
Number one is we find out that loud noises hurt the Sensorites.
And even after being told this, the
doctor just keeps shouting.
Constantly.
Yeah.
He's so offensive.
So offensive.
He really does need to go on a cultural learning course.
Yeah. And then we get and number two, because please note, I do have a second point to make.
Well done. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Is Moneypenny gives another little allusion to a future plot point by saying that she can't really tell them apart. They all look alike. The only thing that really tells them apart is the fact that they have. Sometimes they're wearing a collar, or the number 3 wears a collar, number 2 wears a sash, number 1 wears the X-Men badge.
And we get a huge scene of the penny dropping for the admin guy.
Yeah.
How can we fuck them up? Which will come in later.
Yeah.
It's an incredibly obvious plot point.
Yeah. And then admin guy and some other Sensorite dudes. Yeah, exactly. They say that the second in command has disposed of the firing pin, but there is one more firing pin.
Yeah.
And these gentle creatures deceive us with smiles, he says. Again,
every reason to think that.
Even though he shouldn't have a word for smiles because they don't use their fucking mouths, doesn't matter. So he then plots to steal Numero Dos sash.
Yeah.
Take the man's sash.
Take his sash so he has his power. Because they cannot be told apart otherwise. Even though they've got different voices, some of them are significantly fatter than others.
Yeah. Have larger packages.
Have much larger packages. Some of them have man boobs. I could tell them apart.
Yeah.
Quite easily. Yeah.
Cut to...
They can't tell each other apart.
Yeah, no. Cut to... no, they can't. That's actually... they make that point. We'll get to that later on. Drink, everyone. So, then cut to the Doctor and some Sensorite scientists cooperating. So the Doctor's, heading up the science crew.
Yeah, he wants samples from all the districts.
Exactly.
Great montage.
And
the best montage in the history of Doctor Who. This montage is...
the only montage, thus far.
Actually, you might be right about that.
The first and best.
And consequently, the best one,
analysis and illness.
We get to see such nuggets of just inconceivable gold, such as Susan holding down Ian while he has a seizure on the sofa, the Doctor playing around with vials, and a list of just the districts in numerical order.
But, yeah, for some reason, being written out with a fountain pen, like first district, second district, just one after the other.
And they're
I
just
don't
adding
see how that
negative,
Well, it's
positive.
clearly the first half of the list looks printed because all the the script is exactly the same.
Yeah.
It's being written.
So then, cut to end of montage, the doc has finally discovered there is poison in the
It
water.
was a very necessary montage, actually, because the Doctor did need some time to come up with a solution,
Totally.
and to find out that there was atropine poisoning in the water.
Needless to say, numero uno is mega chuffed about this.
Yeah. But Admin Guy still thinks Ian isn't really ill. The Doctor's concocted a fake
Antidote.
potion to make Ian better.
Yeah,
And
to
it's-
combat a poison that in his mind doesn't even exist.
Yeah, which is actually very clever. Like, that's quite true. It could all be a lie.
Well, I wouldn't go so far as to call it clever, but yeah, it's
That
reasonable.
itself,
I'd go as
if it
far.
was the story, it would have made a good story, I think.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, if it was actually a conspiracy theory.
And as a consequence of his theories, he kidnaps Doss, takes his sash, and go for it.
Then John alerts the Doctor that a plot is afoot, so he can't remember very much about his time in Zarzar Land, but he does remember that there is something bad going on.
Yeah.
That there is a plot going on, which sort of arouses the Doctor's suspicions.
Yeah.
That's when it first starts.
He says this to the Doctor and Moneypenny.
Yeah.
And she's really, quite emotional because she misses her, fiancé.
Yeah.
And, the man he used to be.
Mm-hmm.
But because the antidote is now supposedly, it's meant to be distributed among the Sensorites and even be brought to both Ian and what's-his-face. No, sorry, he doesn't need the antidote.
He doesn't need it.
No, but he's
been mindfucked.
Yeah, he's receiving this digital perm, so he's going to be fine. And the doc even says, I'm sure you'll have a great future between you later on, which to me was a reference to the Thal. Well, not a reference, but it echoes what he tells the Thal. Because do you remember at the end of the Daleks, he tells the Thal, and I wouldn't be surprised if in your lifetime we'll have birds flying around here, even though they're on a planet that is completely void of life.
Okay, I don't see the link. I think they're just a nice young couple.
Okay, fine. That's not a direct link, but it echoes it to me because, I wouldn't trust his judgment at all.
No, he does make these wild leaps, but I don't think that there's anything wrong in this. All he's saying is, they seem like a lovely young couple, good luck to you.
Fair enough, thanks for shitting all over my joke, Flappy.
She's looking forward to a nice big juicy steak.
Oh, yeah.
She really
Big hunk of steak.
Yeah, she wants some serious Rod Stewart schlong.
To be honest, he seems to have been out of action for a while, it probably is time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in the meantime, fake Doss has, he's now wearing the sash. He said the other Sensorites, they've only ever seen the leaders from afar, so they probably wouldn't recognize them up close.
Yep.
Seconds later, one of the regular Sensorites walks past him.
With the antidote.
Assumes that he is numero Doss, and gives him the vial. Soon as he's left, kablamo, he just destroys it.
On the floor,
Yeah.
Which, by the way, total proof that he's not behind the poison or anything.
Yeah, but he again makes a fairly logical point, which is that he wants to see if Ian actually dies.
Yeah.
Which would be proof whether he's faking it or not.
Yeah.
And you know what? Ian's getting better.
Yeah, he really is.
Without any help from any antidote, Ian is improving.
Well, I think, as I said at this point, there's a lack of any humans around for any dialogue. So Ian,
lack of any
needs
male humans around for any dialogue.
Yeah.
He needs to get up and be able to talk.
Exactly.
But he is getting better. He's still a little bit bad, but he's up and about. Eventually he does actually get completely better with no antidote.
It does seem to be, yeah.
Yeah, he does get the antidote eventually, but yeah. So the Doctor decides that he needs to go down to the aqueduct because there's a problem with the water. And the Elsers discuss and talk about it with the Doctor, saying there are monsters down there.
Yeah, They go down, it's super dark, there are all these pipes and whatever, and the Sensorite that's walking down there says there are monsters in here.
That's after the Doctor leaves. They start discussing that. Where's he gone? Oh my god, he's gone down the aqueduct. And Ian's there, and Ian's really sick on the bed, and he's like, no, I must get up. I must save the Doctor. And like a man.
Such a complete stud muffin, gets up.
Like a man, despite his deadly illness.
Yeah.
We've been told he is gonna die.
Yeah.
He gets up anyway.
Follows the Doctor into the aqueducts with Susan. And, anyway, Anyway, seriously, we need to speed this up because we've recorded approximately an hour and a half now.
Alright, so the last thing we see is the Doctor trapped in the viaduct, in the dark, discovering a deadly nightshade.
Yeah.
And
down in the
Jurassic noises.
Yeah, and he hears an awful noise. End of episode.
There's one thing before that, there's one thing that is actually important, and that is numero uno telepathically calls the real DOS. But DOS, at this point, is tied up. Yeah, he can't respond. You can hear it, but he can't respond. So he tells the henchman, who's holding him captive, they've gone down into the aqueducts and whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, and admin guy, bad guy, says he'll surely die down there.
Yeah, exactly.
Cut to Doctor trapped in the viaduct. He's discovered the nightshade, and there's a terrible noise, some guttural Jurassic Park noise.
Yeah, which, by the way, incidentally, is never explained.
No, never.
Yeah.
So
next episode,
the kidnap, episode 5.
Yeah.
So Ian and Susan turn up, having looked for the Doctor.
Yeah, find him.
He's been knocked out. His coat is in tatters, and he's it's full of scratch marks.
Yeah.
They remark that it's amazing that the Doctor was unharmed.
Yeah.
His coat is torn to shreds.
This makes no sense later on in the story.
Nobody ever says anything.
Absolutely nothing.
At this point, though, it's fitting with the noises that heard.
Exactly. Yeah. We think there's a velociraptor down in the sewers, but no dice. Okay, spoiler alert, there are humans down in the sewers. If they had found the fucking Doctor, they would have spoken to him in beautiful English.
Well, and it's possible that, those humans hijacked the Doctor, beat him up, knocked him out, ripped his clothes in tatters. It doesn't explain the noise.
No.
It does not explain, it could never explain the noise.
Maybe it's the pipes now function.
It really didn't sound like it. It sounded like
Godzilla. Have bad water pipes in your house. They can make those noises.
That is true.
They can gurgle, but they don't sound like Godzilla.
Okay, so cut back up top. Admin guy.
Actually, at this point, the Doctor deducts that there's at least one Sensorite plotting against him.
Yeah, you're right.
Because the antidote never reached Ian. Ian says, I haven't got anything. He's completely fine, by the way.
Oh, he does not need this antidote.
Yeah, he doesn't need it. But he does tell the Doctor he never received the antidote. And the Doctor's treachery's afoot.
Yeah. So, to be fair, though...
An admin guy, again, unexplained, is standing behind them listening.
Yeah. But to be fair, they did say only 2 out of 10 actually died from this contamination. Yeah. It's 2 years ago, 3 out of 10 died. Last year, only 2 out of 10 died. Exactly, only 20%.
That's actually population management.
Yeah.
They should do that on purpose.
We have no idea the size of their population or anything else.
No, we never see any of the rest
we get to see 2 rooms in the Sensorite.
And apparently there are family groups or something.
Yeah.
Groups.
Which reminded me of the Deans of Athens.
Yes.
So everybody's been split up into these little tribal areas. I don't know. Something. We're never told. But anyway, the admin guy has now got the second elder tied up.
Yeah.
Well, we knew that. And gets him to contact the leader against his wishes, saying,
No, it's not the leader, the head warrior.
Okay, sorry, yes, you're right, the head warrior, to say, bring the firing key to the central quarters.
Courtyard.
Yeah. Okay, right. Bring the firing key to the central courtyard.
Kablamo.
Yeah, but the second elder, after doing this, manages to wriggle free and actually destroys the firing key.
There's one thing before that. Yeah, dude, this is pretty... Yeah, because cut to the courtyard, Dr. Ian and Susan are standing there. The warrior turns up, fake DOS arrives, and receives the firing key, and then the Doctor runs after him, but he escapes.
Okay.
And that is important, but it's important later on for the accusation
that is
bit.
important.
So
second elder actually destroys the firing
exactly.
key.
The second real DOS, fake DOS arrives with the firing key, real DOS just breaks it in half.
Admin guy.
You've been out of shape.
Okay.
You bent back.
Right, maybe. or maybe the wiring's fucked. I don't know.
And he gets...
Admin guy and his co-conspirator kill
exactly.
second elder. But I think it was accidental. It did seem accidental.
Yeah.
They were just trying to throw
It's manslaughter, not murder.
It was manslaughter.
Yeah.
They are very frail.
Yeah, they are very frail, especially in the central area, apparently.
Yeah.
But he dies. And the leader tells the Doctor that the second elder intercepted the antidote. So Wait, something happened. They found out that they thought that the second elder was the person doing the wrong.
It was like, yeah, so he dies, then cut to numero uno chatting with the doctor and company, and yeah, they kind of propose that, it probably is the second in command who's the bad guy, as in what they think is the real second in command.
There was some reasoning to that, though.
Yeah.
Which is something like he's the only person who could have possibly intercepted it.
Something like that.
Actually, no. They know that he intercepted it. They think the second elder.
Oh, you're right.
Because the other guy was dressed up as the second
Exactly,
elder.
yeah, you're right. You're totally right. And then...
Because the servant man says, I gave it to the second elder, and then it never got there.
Exactly.
So it must have been the second elder.
Totally true. Then servant cast dude arrives, gives the doctor a cloak.
Yeah.
And
which looks fucking badass.
Looks totally badass. Moments later, the henchman arrives and says, henchman arrives with fake DOS, now sporting his normal collar, and says DOS was killed by the doctor, and he all of a sudden says, and I saw it all happen.
Yeah, he took was it a dagger? It was something. He took something from his coat, and then killed him with it.
Great scene.
And then Ian's like, did he really? Are you 100% sure?
Was he wearing his coat?
Yeah.
And it's like, maybe he was wearing no, I remember it now, he was wearing a cloak.
The coat, of course, being ripped to shit.
Exactly, and the cloak just having been delivered.
Yeah. Yeah, it is like a detective scene.
Yeah.
Like Ian completely finds them out.
Yeah.
And then he's
like waxing his mustache while he tells the story.
He was wearing a cloak. And Ian's like, the leader then says, I gave him the cloak 5 seconds ago.
Yeah.
So it all becomes revealed. This guy is lying. This guy's the bad guy.
Yeah. But now the troop, they think that the admin dude is a good guy.
Yeah.
Because he's like, I had no reason to distrust him. I'm sorry that I brought him here, blah, blah, blah. I thought I was doing the right thing.
He gets promoted.
Beautifully to his benefit.
Exactly. He's promoted to second in command.
On the advice of the Doctor and Ian.
Yeah.
Bingo.
They're like, we can make a friend here. Let's get him promoted.
Yeah.
He'll be on our side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We think that they think that, now he's going to be like super chuffed and like a nice jolly fellow.
And he's a cunt immediately.
Yeah. Ian goes, congratulations, and he says, when you address one of the elders, you call him sir.
Which I don't think's true.
No, I don't
When
think
they
so
talk
either.
to other elders, they don't call them sir, and nobody ever takes umbrage.
That's this guy. Don't give him authority.
Oh, this guy's an idiot. Well, because they were addressing at one point the leader, like the absolute master, and they never called him sir, and he's fine with it.
Oh, he wouldn't want it, if anything.
Yeah. Oh, he'd be embarrassed, I think.
Yeah, he would.
To be called sir. Whatever.
Cut to Rod Stewart is now all better, and he's reunited with Moneypenny, but he's like forgotten most of the important bits, except he knows that there was a traitor.
Yeah.
And New DOS is eavesdropping on them and just walks up to him and goes like, can you remember what he looked like? Is he in this room? Like, I wonder if this guy's the bad guy. And the only thing he says, he remembers there was something odd about this Sensorite, but he can't quite place where it was.
He was wearing something, like, discernible.
Yeah. Susan figures it out. She says, like, it must have been... Was he wearing a collar? And only one guy ever wore a collar, and that was the admin dude.
Yeah.
So then...
Bingo
bongo.
Everybody's realised it was admin guy all along.
Exactly. Well, the troopers realised that.
So now what they need to do is prove it to the leader.
Exactly. But before they even get a chance, New DOS, former admin dude, tells his engineer henchman buddy to disable the 2 egg cutters and to, like, mess up the map to the sewer system.
Go back just a little.
Okay, yeah, sorry, go for it.
The Doctor and Ian talk to the leader. They have a little tete-a-tete where they say that the water supply has definitely been spiked. Like, there's something wrong, and it's only going on in one district at a time, so it seems planned. They have to go down there and try and fix it, work out what's going on.
Yeah.
At which point, admin guy, or numero do, actually says, okay, well, let's give them some shitty weepons that don't work, and a fake map.
There you go, yeah.
Real devious shit.
Yeah, very devious.
And the Doctor also says, could we please ask for Bob to be returned to us?
Yeah.
Like, she's allegedly up on the spaceship, even though she's clearly on holiday somewhere.
But even though she's not really missed, but why would they be asking for Barb back at this point? It's ridiculous.
They're about to go into a dangerous
They're going to a danger zone.
Cannon fodder.
They know there's a conspirator about. They're going down into some gnarly aqueduct.
Exactly. So bring the person along who matters the least to the troop, or to the Doctor anyway. So bring Barb, apparently.
Like, do they have no humanity? Whatever.
Yeah, whatever. So the doctor is then given, or the doctor and Ian, who are to go down into the sewers, they're given these disabled weapons. We know they're disabled. And they're given a map, and anyway, the warrior who brings them these weapons, I just made this note. He says the rays from this weapon, will paralyze a man up to 30 yards away.
For 24 hours.
For 24 hours. 30 yards away, when not 4 episodes ago, they held it maybe 2 inches away from the doctor's face.
Yeah, maybe that was as a threat.
Uncool, man.
Uncool.
Yeah.
Uncool.
Anyway.
But end of episode, admin guy kidnaps Carol. Just get a little cutscene of admin guy kidnapping Carol.
Yeah.
Dun dun dun. Episode 6, The Desperate Adventure.
Yeah.
And my God, is it desperate? This is actually horrifying, but that's...
Yeah, we get a little nod to the Dalek episode again, in that New DOS tells Moneypenny to write a note to Rod Stewart.
Yeah, nobody buys it for a second.
No.
It just says, I have gone to the spaceship, full stop, Carol. Nobody buys it, even for a moment.
Nope. And they try to convince Numero Uno that she's been taken prisoner, and he's a little bit iffy on that theory.
But he does agree that some sort of treachery may be afoot.
Yeah, and he says, you know what, Ian and Doc are in the aqueduct, they've got a good map, and they've got functioning weapons. Cut to the Doc and Ian saying the map's been altered and the weapons don't work. So they're in a really bad situation. Yeah.
Then we cut back to John finding Carol being held captive by admin guy's co-conspirator.
Yeah, in the room beneath the courtyard.
Yeah. So the leader obviously sees this as well.
Yeah.
And he puts the co-conspirator in prison.
Yeah.
It looks like he was the source of the problem all along. Admin guys got off completely scot-free.
Yeah. And BS...
But they find out from the co-conspirator that Ian and the Doctor are completely fucked. They've got no maps, no guns, and they're in there with monsters.
Yeah, and BS then relays that entire plot to Numero Uno.
Yeah. That's right. Cut
down to the sewers.
Yeah, cut down to the sewers. Something appears to Ian. Something tries to attack them. Ian has a rolled up newspaper.
It is so hilarious.
Approaches this thing in the
dark. There might be a velociraptor 10 feet away from them.
We heard something that was at least 2 tons big. Make a very guttural noise.
And the Doctor just goes, take this defunct map, roll it up, and beat the dinosaur to death with it.
It's not even a newspaper, it's a map. Surely not enough, but it turns out that it's actually a human.
Yeah, exactly. They encounter not 1, but 2 humans at first who surround them. They're carrying these stakes.
Yeah.
They've been battling vampires.
They were having a fight and Ian pulled off a badge and it said Commander.
Oh yeah, you're right. And it's one of those spaceship badge thingies.
So they realised everything. They realised that, okay, these must be the humans from 10 years ago and they're still hunkered down.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What have they been eating in the sewers, by the way? There's really a very limited amount of things they could have been eating.
A nightshade badge.
Maybe they found a way of digesting nightshade. I don't know.
I was thinking more like Sensorite poo, but yeah, okay.
Yeah, but they're the ones who've been poisoning the water.
Yeah.
Find out. And this monster seemingly doesn't exist.
Exactly. In fact, we don't hear anything about it ever again.
Never ever hear about it.
Noise not explained. Problem solved. They're taken to the commander.
Yeah, they're really paranoid.
Yeah, and the commander is a total Ben Gunn. He is Ben Gunn from Treasure Island. What
was our comment? Boris Johnson.
Yeah.
He was Boris
he's
Johnson.
Clearly of officer stock.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a posh boy.
Yeah.
And he's very pleasant.
Yeah, but the Ben Gunn reference is the similarity is he's been on this, in these sewers, which is the island, right, from Treasure Island, for 10 years, protecting this treasure, which is all the molybdenum. And the second someone else arrives to rescue him, he gets paranoid that they're there to steal his treasure.
Yeah. He's kind of right.
Oh, he's totally right.
His paranoia is just...
He even threatens them, by the way.
Yeah, and he gets really suspicious when it emerges Susan and John have followed them down.
Yeah.
They've said, they're the only ones and they've managed to destroy,
the Doctor
all of the
lied to
Sensorites.
him.
Yeah, exactly.
Line
You're right.
saying that they're the only ones there and that they've destroyed the Sensorites. All of a sudden, Susan and John turn up.
Yeah.
So they've clearly been lying.
Rod Stewart plays along for a little bit. Barbara goes like, what's going on? The second she hears them lying, and then tries to play along.
Yeah.
No one, by the way, none of these, as far as we know, 3 men who have been living together in a Sensorite sewer for a decade remarks on the fact that they've now seen a human female for the first time in a long time.
His crew have clearly regressed into cavemen.
Yeah.
The commander's fine, but...
Well, I don't know about fine.
He's a bit paranoid.
Yeah, he's a bit paranoid, but like otherwise, like seems to have maintained his dignity.
Yeah.
Whereas the others haven't.
His paranoia is
probably trained at Sandhurst.
His paranoia is totally well-founded because they head up top, and the second they get up top, they're ambushed by Sensorites in cooperation with the Doctor.
And in a depressingly short-lived and completely half-arsed turn of events. That's the end.
Yeah, that's the end. This whole thing is...
That is it. The leader knocks the guys out, and says, okay, we'll be sending them on their way.
Yeah.
And we worked out that the second elder was the bad guy.
Yeah.
He'll be sent to the outer ways.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
He'll be sent to the outer ways.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah.
We never hear of any of them ever again.
When you meet the crew and the captain, that's the first point in the whole episode where it starts to get really punchy.
Yeah,
good
the tempo really goes up.
It lasts for about 2.5 minutes, and then it's over, and it's really underwhelming.
And it's actually finished. None of us realised it was finished.
No.
It was just like 2 lines, describing what had happened to the second elder. Nobody, we never see how he actually gets captured and found out. It's just, we found him, he's gone to the waste.
Yeah, in fact, the tempo picked up so much. When we got to this point, I thought that we were maybe 7 or 8 minutes into this episode. It was actually really, really entertaining, fast-paced.
Yeah.
But it turns out we had actually seen 25 minutes of this thing.
It was all over.
Yeah. Cut back to the TARDIS.
They're on the TARDIS now, and they're leaving. They see the other humans flying away.
Yeah.
And Ian just says, as a laugh to the Doctor, "Oh, well, at least they know where they're going."
Yeah.
Fine, we don't. The Doctor gets
he's such a douchebag.
Mortified. Basically tells Ian to go fuck himself.
Yeah.
And the next time they dock at a planet, he's gonna fucking kick him. I really want to see how that plays out. So I guess in a sense it's worked in that I'm desperate to see the next episode.
Yeah.
But my God, was that a disappointing end?
That was incredibly disappointing. And we're going to get to this in the mini reviews. I want to say, up until the penultimate episode, I was so pleased that we were back in sci-fi land, and we even had like a
save it for the.
Okay,
right,
fine.
Go on.
Fine. No.
Well, do you know what? You make your point, and then you can lead into your review. How about that?
Yeah, might as well. We're already done with this episode, aren't we?
Yeah.
But, okay, with this storyline.
Unbelievably, we are done.
Yeah. Now that we've spent, 2 hours discussing this story, I'm going to have a great time editing this, by the way.
Sorry.
Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, for such a long episode. I hope you enjoyed this. But, now, upon closer scrutiny of this story, holy shit am I disappointed with this story. When watching this, I think I told you, I was quite just enamored with the fact that we were back in outer space, we now had aliens, and also, I don't remember where, but I either heard or I read a review or something of the Sensorites that said that it was the worst William Hartnell story ever. Gotta say, this is by far not the worst one.
No. Even of, the ones we've reviewed, it's not as bad as The Edge of Destruction. It really isn't.
No.
Did you see? I fumbled over it there. It's quite a hard line to say.
Discussion.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's nowhere near as bad.
No, not at all. However, now that we've gone over this, it is mind-boggling. It is flummoxing how bad this story is. I mean, it is super slow. It has all these things that we keep pointing out. And
so much potential.
So much potential.
Yeah.
We've said this
on so many places it could have gone.
Yeah. There are so many times in this story, in this story arc, that the tone of the Sensorites changes completely.
Yeah.
In the beginning, they're super bad guys.
Yes.
They're trying to make everyone scare each other.
Mind melders.
Yeah.
They are,
Well, immediately you're going to think they're a technologically advanced, superior race.
Yeah, it turns out they're not technologically advanced at all.
No, they've got nothing. In fact, we didn't mention this. When they see the Doctor's lock, they're like, holy shit.
Yeah.
This guy is brilliant.
Well,
yeah.
to be fair, like, he is a thing off the TARDIS, so it probably does have some crazy shit going
Yeah,
on.
sure.
It looks like your standard deadbolt mortar slot to me.
But they are absolutely flummoxed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so they're trying to get everyone to scare each other. We've got the whole telepathy thing, which doesn't really pan out, because
That's all
after
they've got is telepathy. Is all they have.
that's all they have. Yeah, they've got these
It's the only
stethoscopes.
remarkable thing.
Yeah, but in the beginning, the telepathy is used very differently. Like, it's used for mind control, like control of human minds.
Yeah, because
Whereas later on, that
for communication only.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, surely, if that had actually stood for the rest of the 6 episodes,
Good point.
then Numero Dos could just have used it to manipulate the whole troop. But
Yep.
that is never used again.
Yeah.
We also find out that they have the ability to put them into this death-like sleep,
Yeah.
but that is never revisited either.
No.
And every single thing that leads up to the humans, because we know that something is down in the sewers.
Yeah.
We're working our way to what is in the sewers.
Yeah.
We find what's in the sewers, the end.
Yep.
Such a disappointing conclusion to this story.
Took a long time to get there.
Yeah. I guess we've reversed the way that we usually do this. We'll do our reviews, or we'll give our ratings now. But
You're
and
already
then,
doing it.
yeah, exactly. But we also have a fan review. Actually, we have 2 fan reviews, 3 fan reviews.
Yeah.
We've got Frank here. Okay, I'm gonna give my rating in this way.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm being given the finger by Flapjack right now. Okay,
Tell them
so
why.
okay, up until the penultimate episode of the story arc, I was incredibly pleased to be back in space. This was very much the kind of Doctor Who experience that I was missing in the Aztecs.
Oh, you were visibly happy.
Yeah,
Very happy.
I was very pleased.
Enamored of you.
Yeah. There are, however, okay, so 2 things. Number 1, we've just spent 2 hours discussing this, and I fucking hate the story now. Okay, I don't hate it. I am not as pleased as I was before.
Okay.
And number 2, it is nowhere near as good as the other sci-fi stories that we've had so far.
Mm-hmm.
So it is, to me, it's much better than the Aztecs because it's in space, but it's so much worse than, let's say, the Daleks, for instance, or Marinus, which remains my favorite so far.
Fantastic.
I've got to
Marinus.
watch that.
Oh,
You
Marinus
really
is
have to.
amazing.
It is so good.
You must watch Marinus.
It's so much worse than those that I cannot give it as that good a mark.
Okay.
Hence, I'm giving this 3.7. 3.7.
Okay. 3.7. Like, I think that's fair
I
enough.
know that's more than you're giving it. but
The reason I was upset initially
It's because I said 4.1.
Because you said 4.7, but to be fair, at that point we hadn't watched the final episode.
no, that's true.
At the point of the final episode, I was on like a 3.2. I've had a good time. I actually felt the plot was dragging a little, and Frank made a good point that, well, maybe this was 6 episodes. Maybe they stretched that out a little.
Yeah.
Maybe there was only actually 3,
Yeah.
maybe 4 episodes worth of content.
Yeah, and we theorised that maybe they stretched it out because Bob was on holiday.
Possibly, yeah. And it did plod along a little. So I was only
Yeah.
ever on 3.2. So,
I hope
Yeah.
you had a good holiday.
Then the ending came. What
having
happened then?
seen that final episode, I mean, the term cop-out doesn't even begin to describe it. There was so much going on in this episode. Like, there were so many places they could have gone. And before, I've given episodes of Doctor Who more marks because they looked like they were going interesting places. They never did, but they still get the marks for looking interesting. Like, on a visceral level, yeah, this was quite enjoyable, like, while I was building myself up. This time, I was so disappointed, I have to deduct quite a lot of marks. Like, I'm actually going to sink pretty low.
Okay, I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah, I'm going to go down to... Okay, I'm going to be fair, because there were things I enjoyed. I did have, you know... I'm going to go down to a 2.3.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I felt violated. Like, that monster thing.
Yeah.
There just wasn't a monster.
Yeah, but
That was it. There just wasn't one.
yeah, but on the other
That looked
hand,
like that could be interesting.
we got the Yeti in Marco Polo, but we both gave it super high marks.
The humans who have been trapped down in the sewer for
Yeah,
10
I know.
years. We got like 2 or 3 minutes with them. Like, they must have developed a whole mini society down there. There must be a huge backstory as to what was going on with them.
Dude, they spent a decade doing nothing but bang each other and eat Sensorite shit.
Well, exactly. And this...
They sharpen their sticks.
Yeah, they sharpen their sticks quite well. But how can they possibly have written this script? We get this whole build-up, and it lasts for 6 episodes, a really long time. That this the guy who becomes the second elder, admin guy, is really bad. He's hatching all these plots. He's conspiring constantly. And then we're just told in one line, oh yeah, like, we caught him. He's, like, off to the wastes.
Yeah.
Unacceptable. Completely unacceptable. And, yeah, I've deducted quite heavy points for that, and I'm going to go right down to a 2.3.
All right. Fair enough.
Yeah, I'm angry.
I can tell. Frank, what did you think?
Yeah, so this, by the way, counts as our first fan review.
Yeah.
Does
So
that mean I'm reviewing you?
No. You're reviewing the
This
episode.
is my first ever episode of Doctor Who ever. I don't think it's fair that I can mark it with any authority. I'm not going to put a number on it.
Okay, you can't put it into a Doctor Who context,
No,
but
I
as a
can't.
sci-fi story,
Well,
what did you think?
Well, to be honest,
Just rate it for enjoyment.
the first episode was really good, and I thought, wow, there's so much potential here. All this stuff about London not having existed for so long, and these. And I thought, wow, this could be really interesting. There's so many things that we're going to find out. It's going to be a really interesting story, and no, it just wasn't, unfortunately. But I enjoyed it. It was a good ride. It took a long time. Yeah, it was a bit slow. It could have been cut down to 3 episodes. The ending was very underwhelming, but I enjoyed it. I'm going to stick with it and watch some more episodes and give it a good
Well,
shot.
very glad to hear it.
If it did nothing else, if it inspired you to watch more Doctor Who, that's a great thing.
I think that, but I think, the enthusiasm that you guys use is a big part of it.
Okay, good. Well, if we helped with that inspiration,
No,
I'm all the more happy.
If we can touch just one person's heart, this is all worth it. So out of 5, what are you giving this?
I'll give it a 2.5.
2.5?
Yeah.
All right. Very good. We've got a couple of fan reviews that we want to read out.
Oh, we had more than we could handle. But
Yeah.
we've censor-picked.
Yeah. So, number 1 comes from John Davids. Thank you very much for sending in your mini review, John. We're going to do what we did the first time we read a listener review. We're going to split this up into 2.
Yeah,
Shall I start off, or do you want to start
It's fair. It's absolutely fair. You go.
Okie dokie. So, John writes, in previous podcasts, you've talked of things that randomly happen and never mentioned again.
Oh, yes,
This is
we
the
did.
first example of them revisiting something which looked like they'd forgotten. Susan's hearing of the plant life screaming in Keys of Marinus is
Yeah,
revisited
excellent.
with her... Yeah, good point. In fact, one we made as well, I think.
Yeah, excellent point.
Is revisited with her having telepathic gifts in this episode, which would be great if they actually allowed her to have character development rather than oscillating between, and quote, irritating and useless screaming schoolchild and, second quote, otherworldly alien. Personally, I prefer her when she's in the otherworldly alien mode, such as she is in the Sensorites, which, apart from Dalek invasion of Earth, is really the only Susan-heavy episode we get.
He goes on to say, it's a pity that the episode itself is okay rather than good. Coming off the back of the Aztecs, which is a classic, and the Keys of Marinus, which is another classic, quite right. This is the first episode of Season 1, which is poor in my books, and unlike Ponkin and Flappy, I actually really love The Edge of Destruction. I would ask why. Okay, but anyway,
Yeah.
finish the review.
Shall I finish it?
Yeah, go on.
He goes on, the good, Susan. The bad, Hartnell seemingly doesn't actually bother reading the script.
He never does.
He's got a great quote here from Hartnell. I rather fancy that, settled that little bit of solution. And yes, rich in minerals. Yes, quite.
Do you know what? John David said an awful lot there, which I agreed with massively. And he's actually come to a score that was, actually quite close to mine, which is 2.1 out of 5.
Yeah.
Do you know what? He's made me actually think it's even worse.
Holy crap. He's made me think that it's a lot worse than 3.7, which I gave it.
So
I'm sticking to it.
While I still don't agree with the Edge of Destruction thing, I don't get it. John, please tell me why you thought it was good.
Yeah.
I know it's difficult to actually put that into a little nugget sometimes.
Yeah,
I really
go
don't
to
get
the Edge of Destruction page on the website and post this, because people need to know what is good about it.
Because I love your opinion. You're
Yeah.
clearly a massive fan of the show and have some really fantastic opinions about the show, which
Yeah.
I love, and I love your review. But I would really like to hear from you for that reason.
Yeah, I think
As
you're
to why
probably in the
Edge of
best
Destruction-
position to write a review of The Edge of Destruction.
But that said, I thought that was a terrific review that actually hit it pretty much on the head. It's not great.
It's not great.
Yeah.
In fact, your review is so good, I now completely regret my score. I'm not going to go back on
You're
it.
stuck with it.
I'm stuck with it. Thank you very much for sending in your review. Our second one comes in tweet form from Will.
Friend of the show, Will.
Friend of the show.
Friend of the show.
Numero uno Canadian fan.
Go, Will.
Will writes, great opening, great chemistry, great music, great backstory, great set and costume design, great acting, especially from John. The last 4 minutes of the first episode is the best the show has been yet. Score? 4.2 out of 5. In brackets, second best story up to this point.
Up to this point. The last 4 minutes of the first episode is the best the show's got. Do you know what? Like, he has a point there. Well, as you said, Frank, like that first episode, it opened up so many pathways.
Yes.
And it looked like this was going to be such an interesting story arc.
Yeah, I think Will has a really good point here.
I could agree. Like, I don't know if Will would add more to this, but I would agree the first episode was dazzling.
Yeah.
It was dazzling.
It was really, really good.
But that's what made it all the more disappointing for me as to how it developed.
But Will has raised some really, really good points as well in terms of production value. He says, great opening, that's the first episode. Great music. This is really the first time that I've even really made a note of the music. Okay, in the Aztecs there was like Aztec music.
Yeah.
But this is really the first time that it's kind of prevalent. He says great backstory. Oh, I don't know if I agree with that. He does say great set and costume design though. Totally true.
Yeah.
Super true.
Do you know, I don't agree with the backstory point. Like, there could have been good backstories. Like, as you said, the whole London, like, being destroyed or in the 28th century thing,
Well,
which
you
is
should hear
what is
more about
mentioned in the
that.
first episode,
Yeah.
sounds like it's going to be a great backstory. It doesn't develop into anything of a backstory. Like, I agree that it sounded like it was going to be good.
Will, seriously, thank you so much for sending this in. Very good points, good music, acting, set,
I thought
etc.,
they-
etc.
I thought they were
Production value
terrific,
is fucking through the roof.
As I said, I agree with Will about the first episode. I don't know what Will's thoughts are on the
rest of it.
on the other 5.
Yeah, do you have any thoughts on, like, the humans in the sewers? I'd be curious to hear about that.
Any thoughts on episode 6?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
Post on the website. Will Wakefield is at Will_Wakefield. Find him on Twitter.
And he has some super good opinions, some super good reviews, so follow him.
Yeah. And he's a friend of the show. He's the guy who put us up on Reddit.
Good man.
He's a hero.
Good man.
Okie dokie.
Okay. Well,
Wow.
I think that finally, like just about, it's 2:05 in the morning here.
Jesus Christ.
This has overrun slightly, but we have reached the conclusion
Yeah.
of this episode of Who Back When.
Yeah, next week we're reviewing The Reign of Terror. So if you
I'm
want to
actually
write us
super excited.
I'm super excited as well. If you've got a mini review for that or you want to tweet us your thoughts, just send them in. I'm at Ponkin. You don't read your tweets.
It's not so much that I don't read them. Like, they come through to my Gmail account, so I do, like, if you tweet me, I will see it.
Okay.
I just don't really tweet.
Fair enough.
I do see tweets. So
And you are
please, at One Too Many Mornings. And please do tweet me. Like, I do pick them up. I just don't necessarily respond in kind.
Cool. And you can send us your mini reviews through the website. Just go to whobackwhen.com. Like us on Facebook, facebook.com/whobackwhen. +1 us on Google, whatever.
And if you can find any other form of social media, we'd be happy to hear about
Yeah, follow Will's example and add us to other forms of just SEO.
And I'd also like to say a very big thank you to our special guest for the evening.
Frank?
Guys, thanks for having me. It's been awesome. I've had a great time. Thank you for introducing me to Doctor Who.
Our pleasure.
And I hope I didn't interrupt your flow too much.
Not at
Oh my god, it was beautiful.
added to the flow.
Yeah.
It was like a waterfall.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure. Thank you.
Okie dokie, catch us in the next one. Have a good one. Shamanam ding dong.
Rock on, people.
I hate you, Flapjack.
Who back when?